winter day, the queen was doing the needlework while gazing out the window. Suddenly, she pricked her finger. As she looked at the blood in the snow, she wished she had a daughter that has skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. Soon after that, she gave birth to a baby girl who had skin white as snow, lips red as blood and hair black as ebony. They named the baby Princess Snow White, but sadly, the queen died after giving birth to Snow White. Soon after, the king got married a new woman. She was beautiful, but as well proud and cruel.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Thou, O Queen, art the fairest of all.
When growing up, Snow White was more and more beautiful. She was also prettier than the new queen.
Just whistle while you work, and cheerfully together we can tidy up the place.
One day, the mirror said that Snow White was the most beautiful girl. The queen was very angry. She ordered her huntsman to kill Snow White.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
You, my queen, are fair. It is true. But Snow White is even fairer than you.
You must put Snow White to death.
Yes, Your Majesty.
You must put Snow White to death.
The poor huntsman took Snow White into the forest, but found himself unable to kill her. He let her go and brought the queen a heart of a wild boar.
All right, now you must run into the great forest in case the queen finds you.
Snow White was now all alone in the great forest. What should she do? Where should she go? We will see it in the next parts. As the previous part, when the huntsman released Snow White, she ran alone into the great forest. Running as far, she saw a little house and went inside to rest.
От улыбки хмурый день светлей, от улыбки в небе радуга проснется. Поделись улыбкою своей, и она к тебе не раз еще вернется.
Because she was so hungry, Snow White ate a few vegetables and a little bread from each plate and from each cups. She drank a bit of milk. After that, she lay down on one of the little beds and slept.
Простится с тишиной и захлопает в зеленые ладоши.
After dark, the owners of the house returned home. They were 7 dwarves who mined for gold in the mountain. As soon as they arrived, they saw that someone had been there.
Who has been drinking my cup? Who has been eating my vegetables?
Who has been eating with my fork?
Who has been eating my bread?
Who has been eating from my plate?
Who has been eating my vegetables?
Who has been sitting in my chair?
When Snow White was awake, she saw that 7 dwarves were sitting around her. She told them everything and begged them to stay there.
Hey little girl, what is your name?
My name is Snow White.
If you help us keep the house, you can stay here.
So Snow White lived happily with 7 dwarves. Every morning, they went into the mountain looking for gold. In the evening, when they came back, Snow White cooked the meal and cleaned the house already. The queen believed that she had eaten Snow White's heart, and she was always the most beautiful woman of all. But when she asked the mirror again, she knew that Snow White was not dead.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who in this land is fairest of all?
You, my queen, are fair, it is true. But Snow White beyond the mountains with the 7 dwarves is still 1,000 times fairer than you.
Snow White and the 7 Dwarves Part 3. When knowing Snow White was still alive, the queen had a plan to murder her. She pretended to be an old woman selling combs. She came to Snow White's house and told her to buy a nice comb. Believing in her said, she took the comb in her hair and immediately, she fell down in the ground.
Nice comb, good comb, buy it, buy it.
Fortunately, the 7 dwarves came back in the evening. They saw her lying in the ground with the comb in her hair. Taking the comb out her hair, she woke up and told them everything. They told her not to open the door for the strangers.
Are you okay,
I got
Snow
a
White?
headache.
Ooh.
Ooh, ooh.
Coming to the castle, the queen asked the mirror again, but the answer was as the same as the previous time. She came into a secret room, made a poisoned apple that someone ate a little piece of it, she would die.
It is for Snow White.
She pretended to be a farmer and then went to the dwarf's house and knocked the door again. Snow White remembered the dwarf said and carefully put her head out of the window. But the cruel queen still got around Snow White. She bit a piece then died immediately.
I must not let anyone in.
That's all right with me, good girl.
When the dwarves returned home, they saw she was lying and not breathing at all. They laid her on the bed of straw, sat next to her and cried for 3 days.
What happened with our
Oh
good
no,
girl?
I can't believe that. Oh no, I can't
What
believe
happened
that.
with our good girl?
They wanted to bury her, but she still looked as fresh as a living person. Her cheeks were still beautifully red. They decided to make a transparent glass coffin and watched over her.
Poor her.
One day, a prince went through and saw Snow White. He loved her at the first sight. He asked for permission to take her to the palace and promised to love her and aspect her a lot.
Please, allow me to take her to the palace.
The 7 dwarves agreed with this. The prince asked his servants to take her home. On the way going back home, the serpent
Thank God,
stumbled on
you're
some
now
rock,
awake.
and this
Let's go
dislodged
to
from
my
Snow
father's
White's
castle
throat
and
the piece of
become one of
poisoned
my
apple.
life. Snow
She
White.
woke up and the prince proposed her. Snow White agreed to go with the prince to his castle. Their wedding was beautiful. The wicked queen was invited too. Seeing Snow
Bye-bye,
White,
the
she was
seven
badly
dwarves.
afraid. Her cruel heart was broken down. She died immediately. About the prince and Snow White, they lived happily ever after.
Goodbye, Snow White.